30 to 40 kids with all different ranges of abilities, like throne, motivations. How do you, it's strange to even say manage. How do you let everyone be who they are in the same space and find their own thing in their own way? Because that's the thing about teaching is that you had to, in my first couple of years, I recognized, I had these expectations because I was surrounded by myself. I had, this is what made me me, and I'm great, so don't you want to, and it was and it was just this thing, there's no need for that. That's just one journey. So for me to bring down the expectations, I say lower, because I needed to change. Right? So now, instead of this one expectation, now it's a spread of complete possibility in one space. So basically the things that I'm manipulating, and these things that are done in group setting, when it's one-on-one, one person in a small space, I can get my eyes closed. So all these things should kind of make sense for, oh, okay, cool. All right, so I need to double finger swipe. Okay, so peeling way back what makes someone want to learn, a connection to subject matter, may or may not be interest, maybe a person, a relative, so some connection to it, a belief that it could benefit them, and a confidence that they can improve and or use the information given. So I think of that, why are you here, right? There was some purpose, other than just getting in front of a bunch of people. Because there was, there was a commitment of sort, there was an input, there was an investment on their part to be here. What conditions fostered this mindset? Process instead of outcome, understanding of strengths, the leveraging of weaknesses, which kids don't want to do, because we have to also think that kids are trying to find what they're good at. And a lot of them don't have anything. So the one thing that, even if it's being a knucklehead, if that's what they're known for and get applause for, that's what they're gonna. So instead of smiting that, how do I use that to take them to the next step? Yeah. Always ask instead of telling. Fostering independence and autonomy. Again, I want to give you all the tools and the space to do your thing. Most of the time, they don't have a thing, especially the kids that I get. At least traditionally, they have a terrible experience with PE. They think we're going to lay around and do yoga all day. We certainly lay around on some days, because again, I can only do what comes into my room. That's what I need to be dealing with at this time. It's a constant direction of focus and excitement, energy channeling. Assessing interest in the now. So a lot of times I want to get to things, I'll get kids, for example, we're when are we going to play basketball? When are we going to play basketball? And it's kind of this whole thing, but what is it right now that you could give them that they could be interested in? Maybe you'll draw the thread. Hey, if you understand this position, if you understand ready position, you're going to be better at breaking by somebody in basketball. And you say that to them, they're oh, I get it. They don't have all the tendrils that you have. And they're simply saying out loud that connection to what they're interested in, now you got it. Now, and it might be 10 different things. It might be this is going to make you work better. This is going to make work easier. This is going to make you not hurt. And it's alarming how many kids who aren't athletes, as far as getting injured in sport, come in with pain. Low back, low back, low back, low back. And then I take them into our soccer. We have a room that is kind of all mats and just some pull-up bars. And then they have no idea how to relax. And then I think of the context of having phones, devices, the families that they come from, there is no relax, there's no space for themselves, so there is no ratcheting down. And so basically they live, and I can relate to this, they kind of go to exhaustion. Exhaustion is when they relax, when they have nothing left. So again, how to be you don't have to live on these extremes, this idea of polarity, we're looking at the middle. That's where the function is. And also being able to break big things down and also build them up. Okay, so for myself, what manipulations do you have at your disposal? I have space, I have stuff, I have my eyes. Human interaction generally, because it's not going to be a one-on-one setting. I mean, even if it is a one-on-one, it's me and them. right? And all I'm trying to do is get into their body, ask them questions. One-on-one in the group is, and again, you'll see this, letting them be, they will naturally segregate, they'll naturally separate, they'll naturally go where they feel safe. So this idea, and again, Nicole, it's the same thing that everyone's been talking about, but she phrases it expanding their safety bubble. It's like, absolutely. Like, I want to be in this thing, and I want to, if there's danger all around, I want to be able to literally cast this like superhero force field where I am perfectly fine. And you know, you think about, and I think about where these kids are growing up and all this stuff that they have to deal with. And you see them trying to lay down and they can't close their eyes. They can't close their eyes, right? And you see, and they can't let go because everything they know is, so it's interesting to see where the gaps are. They'll show you, if you let them be, they'll show you where the gaps are. So it's again, a big project in human behavior.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you think that is these days for the kids that you're working with? What, just overstimulation from devices? Social pressures?
I think everything is magnified because with these things in our pockets, which everybody has a phone, or everybody has the drama of phones around them, there's really, this is how they relate to the world. So there's no kind of internal escape because this is their window to everything. And I say just generally, but thinking like, I mean, I grew up without the internet. And when I got to college, there was this internet thing. So you had all this experience but these kids are, you know, when they're a ruly toddler, the parents give them an electronic device. So, and again, I'm not trying to say right or wrong, I'm just trying to justify what is the big cultural shift, and technology has to be part of it.
There's also, my sister's a high school teacher, and there's such a lack, there's dual parents, both working, there's just a lack of like support, there's so much trauma, there's alcoholism, drug abuse, like teachers, same thing as the police, the teachers are being forced to pick up where like the family structure is lacking.
And I guess, and that's the thing, especially with a class like PE that doesn't have the strictest guidelines of people walking around, like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you recognize, you know, before you get overstimulated, before you get to that, how do you recognize the ratcheting up? And then how do you, before it gets to the prevention? So that's, I'm like, this is where it should be happening. And
So much trauma in their lives.
absolutely. And why? Because I think I can't. Like, that's just in, right, again, nobody's looking in, it's just me. These kids will show me where to go and where they dislike. And they'll stay in it as long as they find it interesting. So it's very, you know, I have a certain amount of days or a certain amount of time per period. And this is my planning. I have an idea, but I can't plan because if I plan strictly, I'm gonna want to follow my plan. And if I follow my plan, which is for me, then I don't let this go to where it needs to go. Like, so we need to get to 3 more things, like you guys, you know, it's like, these kids want to learn crossover dribble. These guys can't even dribble, right? So it's setting things up, all right, so you go do your crossover and then I make it harder for them, and then I learn the pattern and the rhythm and all that stuff. But yeah, it can be, the beauty of the PE is that it can be anything you want it to be. I just think people dumb it down because it's easy. They do what they did, they do what's always been done because that's what they were successful in. And then they'll look at these kids and go, you kids are lazy, you kids don't get it. Like, these kids are new, like they don't need what you needed. Things are different. So if you look just at the space, is it defined or is it undefined? So experience matters towards comfort. If I walk to the track, all of a sudden all these kids who hate the mile are like, right, this is what we do here. I was like, do whatever you want. You can walk, and then all of a sudden, and now I see smiling faces around the track. Same with gyms, fitness centers, right? The anxiety of going in there. Like all the people that need this stuff are too anxious to go there. A studio, a stadium, eyes on you, some kids' eyes on them, amps them up, makes them want to perform better. It's the only time they perform. Is when I bring them out and say, be a model. But when nobody's watching there, the other time you'll have kids that can't look anybody in the eye. And so you just kind of give them their corner as everybody's going off. You one-on-one, you talk with them here. You don't try to force. I remember this I had this one gal who, we were playing some kind of game that we made up, and she just kind of froze. And after class, she's slowly walking, and I can tell she's still upset, and she's about this high. And so I walk up to her, and I kind of asked her, like, what's going on? And then I got lower than her. And she's like tearing up, and I'm like, so what's happening? And she's like, I'm so afraid of making a mistake. I'm so afraid of getting it wrong. This poor 14-year-old girl is paralyzed. And so it's like, we're all making mistakes. Like, what your teammates want is this thing to have a teammate, that there's someone that if a ball comes to them, literally this kind of thing, ball. Like, won't even acknowledge it. It's like in the thing, but deflecting everything. So you have all these behaviors. So again, how do you make them understand what they're doing in the context of what they're doing and nudge them? And every time since we had that talk, there would at least be, she might miss the ball, but there would be an attempt to go at it. So it's these little, like you said, little tiny successes strung up, but the gamut of where success happens is in this giant spherical plane and is not on any particular line. Is it public or private? Right? If I'm one-on-one with a person in a private space, I probably feel a lot safer than if we're kind of outside. If I'm in a flat ground, I have plenty of anxious people that I see one-on-one who, like, if we're trying to get deep into body stuff, they're too worried about falling. So what is it that I'm after? Outdoors, you'd be shocked how kids can't adjust to sunlight in any way. And I know I live in Oregon, but like I'm in the same environment, but it'll be here and it'll be here, and there won't be time they won't let the eyes adjust. It's just stop, 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 and pigeonholing smaller and smaller. As I see what happens with the young people. So the caveat is this. Let me grab my water real quickly. The more open and undefined, a grass field, no markers, no balls, a room that is enclosed, has mirrors, doesn't have mirrors, flat surface that nobody's used. That is going to end up having more possibility. I can do anything I want in this space. Versus something that is defined and attracts identifying participants, right? If kids show up, they see all the baskets down, they see the basket of basketballs out, they have this intuition, all the basketballs are going to jazz up, and all the ones that hate basketball are going to back off. And again, you let things go, but what the kids who hate basketball will do, when they all get their own ball, they'll grab the ball, they'll go with their friends, and they'll bounce it. Every 90, I'll say 100% of the kids that get a basketball, whether they like it or not, like to bounce the ball. So what do we do as our first group thing together? We look at things and bouncing the ball. We look at rhythm. And then I'll relate, notice how his whole body, and then I'll relate that rhythm to the crossover, right? So all those upper level kids are like, this makes sense. You want to know how to steal a ball? You don't watch the ball, you listen for the beat. And you know exactly when that ball's going to come up. And then they're like, little tiny things you give, again, it's giving each group and each individual what they need and allowing them to step into the circle that defines that intensity and decides that movement. Space. So the teachers pull towards sameness. This is the homogeny I talked about. Having people do the same thing at the same time is good only for the teacher, not the students. It lets them visually see who's with them and who's without, with all these assumptions as what's happening. But most of the time they're just mimicking. Kids are terrific mimics. You want to say, hey, stretch this, show me what the stretch is. Where do you feel it? I don't know. So pulling back, what do they really get and what do they don't? What are they mimicking? What are they saying yes to for the good grade? So what I like to do as far as with groups, I guess I should back up. Personal responsibility is not to keep up, but to find meaning. That is the whole idea of PE, is how do I make this thing in which you inhabit interesting to you? How do I turn you loose so that you have options and spaces? Most of the time, kids are drilled into tell me what to do. Tell me exactly what to do, and I will do it. Some thrive in that way. And some get really frustrated when, what would you do with this if no one was here? If they have a situation, okay, I do this. Well, what's wrong with that? It's not what I saw an NBA player do. I saw them training this. They were box jumping. Okay, show me your box jump. Okay. Are you jumping higher? Right? I think you're just tucking your feet because you can get to that box. Right? So all these assumptions that they think A will lead to B, especially athletes are kind of, even younger ones, athletes are really rough to work with because they think it should look a certain way. You know, and then you try to get them into the bigger thing, this global space, right? Body mechanics, and they're like, well, where's the volleyball? Like, I just want the volleyball. So I personally would like to work with the blank slate kids who hate PE. I really like to work with them because we're only going to go up, and I'm going to show them all this other stuff. Now, when I have both in the same class, typically I will let the ones who are into it go play, and all the ones who aren't good at the game, the unit, I'm going to give them more attention. It's not flipped. It's not, these kids are great, I'm just going to watch them and leave these kids who have no idea. You guys are good. You don't need me. You guys need a little step up. So those are what I provide my attention to. So as far as groupings, the ability to place themselves reveals observable behavior and interpretation of task. So when I turn them loose, they're going to show me what they think they should do. And I'm going to see people who have no trouble doing stuff, and I'm going to see people who need a little nudge. And again, it's not necessarily do this with the ball, but what if you? That's where it starts. With individuals, especially with this, I'm talking about the ones who aren't sure what to do, like they come see you because they don't know what to do and they're paying you money. It tends to lead towards them mirroring you and then you following them. But if I think about one of my long-term clients, again, I would just mirror, even when she had that unload day where she just wants to talk about her life. Like I will get on the ground and she will get on the ground as she's talking. And I mirror what I ask her to do. But now, she can go off on her own. And I just kind of follow her. And I let her, she tells me exactly what she's feeling inside her body. And I'm just listening. And sometimes she gets really in depth. And I'm just like, oh, you're really getting it, right? But you don't cut it off. You use it. How do you get them nuanced? Safety element with space, being seen or watched. Again, this quote-unquote simplest task put in front of their peers, they'll shut down. The risk is an encouragement, some it's an aversion, again, tapering, up and down. How familiar are they? What do they think? What is their self-confidence? What is their self-efficacy like? Goal is to switch to open adaptation. Can you do whatever you want wherever you end up being? Is there something that you can look at? Even if you're not going to try to get somewhere, if you have no goal, how can you play with this time-space being? And yeah, any environment. Okay, so stuff, these are tools, things that they play with. Known versus unknown is similar to space. So, successful history will make them want to use the object in the way they know how. I love soccer, give me this ball, get out of my way. Okay. Unsuccessful history will make them turn away from it. But with both, here's some balls, this is how I kind of open a unit. Here are some balls that look like this. I'll have hard ball, soft ball, bigger balls, smaller balls, and I'll see what they pick, and I'll see what they do with it. Again, is it a super roll kick? Are they doing some kind of crazy trick? Are they automatically setting up a soccer game? What do they do? That will tell me already what they like and what they need from that observation. You don't want to have assumptions. And you want to show both how they might use those items, tools differently. When I have Funny Monkey, you guys know, ball and string, right? So I have about 40 of those. And so first time I put it out and I watch what they do with it. I have an idea, but what do they do? And so I will have two things basically. First of all, I'll just have people like walking it like it's a dog, like they're not doing it. I'll have the soccer-esque people will kick it. And then I'll have the playground-esque, that's where their best memories come from. Again, 9 times out of 10, jump friend, jump friend, jump friend, jump friend, and this is it. And instead of being like, that's all wrong, don't you fight monkey, right? This is not that tool for that. I let them go. And then I start blending, right? I build off their ideas. I see what I see, and I try to make their idea better and more valuable by allowing them to Same with Jenga blocks. I'll get a whole bunch that just want to play Jenga. Let the kids play Jenga, right? Like, let them go for it. Then I'll see like mysterious towers and like, again, instead of forcing, just see what happens. That will tell you so much. The ones that are familiar, let's use like the basketball example again, who can bounce really well, I ask them, how is it, like how do you put your hand? How do you get that short crossover? Can you get the same right? To ask them details about what they like to do, details about the skill. For the ones who don't like basketball, I'll ask them, what don't you like about basketball? Right, what is it? I'll tell you what it is, it's shocking to me. I'm scared to hit face with the ball. One time during their life, they were looking up, another kid was shooting, now they hate basketball, that one event. Right? So it's like, okay, well, we're going to make sure that we get you your own basket. I don't know how we're going to do it. 40 kids in this room, we've got 4 baskets, but we're going to make, all of you guys are going to play games. And now I'm going to give you now you'll see that kid terrified. Now they'll start to shoot baskets. You take all the barriers away. You could definitely tell the unfamiliar dislike group by blank stares. A lot of literally saying, I don't know, I need help. With those kids, my instinct is you go like, there, but then they're like, oh, overwhelmed again. So I've learned that with those I don't knows, you give them A or B. And they choose. That way they have, it's an easy option, this or that, and then they can go with that one way. It's kind of behavior dictates preference and adoption into novelty. Because once you can get them started, once you can get them past the blocks, again, your job is, now you just watch and observe, because they'll take it from there. Stuff, the constant reminder. The stuff and the games work for us. Right? How many kids devote all their life to this game? It's worth my knee, it's worth my hip, it's worth every single Saturday, right? Games work for us. It's this identity that I am this game that you'll see in all the act like, and they don't know anything else, and then they wonder why when school's over and they no longer play that they get lost. It's because all they had was this one thing. And with that reminder, as a kind of a constant, we can make or break the rules. Right? Okay, you guys aren't really good at basketball. You don't really like it. You're really aggressive. Take the ball. Do whatever you want. Don't follow. Right? Again, let them like, what? We can, yes. The answer is always yes. You can do whatever you want. And they always, and never, ever, ever, in all my 15 years, had an instance, I should take that back. I think I might have had 1 or 2 occasions where I had to be like, you guys get ready, or should we calm it down? Not that I need to step up and be like, whoa, stop that, but just a question, like, should we write this down a little bit? And then they kind of like, yeah, they were going to go down. But they always self-regulate with the group that they're, nobody wants to hurt anybody, right? And so we can dismantle and reconfigure things the way that we want. Then they understand parts. Then they can put parts of different games together. Now, it's almost like if you watch a movie. Imagine you're watching this movie, and in that movie you grab a still shot, and in the still shot, there are 20 different directions to go. So that is what class is like. If that is what movement or games is like, then you can imagine all the variability that could be snatched out of that 35-minute session. Safety and sameness. Numbers. I'll do it if they're doing it. I know how they know how. We're all in the same boat. Habits and routine. If someone is comfortable, they will linger longer in it. I have had kids, really antsy, super athletic kids, that during our relaxation, they had to leave. They'd be on the ground, right, and with their buddies, ha 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 ha, right? And they literally was like, guys, it's okay, you could go. We could go? Okay. They would go off and do their familiar. It was too much to calm down and to shut it down. It was too much to be vulnerable in that way. Because again, they're living. So again, it's not that, I'm not going to make these kids suffer and hate it. You're free to go. The other gym's open. Go for it. Right? And when you give them that autonomy and trust, again, that has never been broken. Where this, I don't know, they went and broke a window or something. Like, no, they went and did because they had a choice to do something they didn't want to do. And here's a basketball, like, don't screw me over. right? You're not going to be supervised, and they always take care because they recognize that there's a bit of trust that comes with it, and they want to get it. The implementation of novelty and a different immediately stands as a challenge. They're either going to see that challenge as risk, threat, like fight or flight, or this is interesting. If I have confidence, this new thing, how am I going to figure this out? So it's always pushing into how do I make this new thing a good thing instead of this new thing a bad thing. So safety shrinks. When you have recurrent intolerable stress, new as risk, the normal level, if you think of alarm and stress, as that yellow goes up, now I'm up, my normal is an 8, when my normal was a 2. So these unrelated, so they're living, again, you think of that kid who couldn't relax, their threshold, their normal is here. Overstress is their normal. This is where some of them are living. Anything new is going to overwhelm them. Safety expands repeated tolerable stress. So if we teach them to know that this new thing is going to be gentle, the smallest step, this new thing will then take them down. New thing, there's a resolution. So now the waves invert. So the operating level of normal now drops back down to a 2 or 3, which gives you much more capacity to build from. Right? Now you can tolerate much more stress because there is that separation with them. Safety and stimulation. Are you ready to receive something? Are you ready? Right? Now look at these kids and they'll be happy. I just kind of see this these eyes. I'm like, oh, right? Are you ready for something new? Because someone talked, I think, with you, Catherine, would you see readiness?
Yeah, state of readiness.
Yeah, state of readiness questionnaire. That is literally just me looking at them and talking with them.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for new stuff? You guys want your own day? It doesn't have to be my day. Okay, do what you need to do. You go to the field, you lay down, that's fine, you don't lay down, cool. And again, it's this, how do you trust yourself? You gotta be given the opportunity to.
I think also how Jordan said every day is gonna be different.
Yeah.
They might be great on one day. On Wednesday, they're like,
right. And everything we do, we don't have a routine in class. This is my ability to shift it low. We don't have a get up, warm up. They're gonna do whatever I throw out. It's gonna be new every single day. They don't know what's coming. So that could be an interesting thing. What are we gonna do today? And I get that a lot. Or they can be like, I don't know what we're gonna do today. It could be modulating. So is novel a perception of threat or intrigue? What does your history and past experience suggest? Are you in the moment? Do you have too much stimulation or too little? Excited versus non-excited? Goal is the ability to learn, take in input during all and each, right? Even when you're tired and you're not excited, can you still absorb something valuable and meaningful? The ramp up, everything's exciting, every day is a party, it's not sustainable. Right? So we have to allow them to take in and find value in all of the states and all of the nows. Otherwise, they become either or people, which we know, right, fully exist. They're either balls to the walls or they're doing nothing. The demonizing sides, low energy is lazy and high energy is awesome, right? It is what it is. Let it be what it is and work with that. And the other thing is just literally relating to the question, what do you value most in your current state? When I have those days, you guys do your thing? They'll do. I just need to lay down because I haven't slept because I've been babysitting, right? Do your thing. Just let them take care of themselves. They know what they need. For the most part, if they were willing to ask themselves, they know what they need. Can we value what is, even if it's less than ideal, as an opportunity to keep expanding? New is a chance for more. Fear being, I'm incapable. Inadequate, if I fail, I'm less than. So why would I risk that? Fixed versus dynamic state of being. Right? And again, I don't know what these kids are like in other classes. I will get kids being like, this kid is terrible in class. I'm like, he's great for me. Again, you know that why? Because, I let him be instead of force and fight. Looking at if I shore up weaknesses instead of just playing to my strengths. When I play to strengths, everything becomes myopic and narrow. I'm good at this one thing. And then the more I get good at one thing, the more I shut everything else out. So if I try to get them to understand that the more you can find and shore up your weaknesses, your ability of the system, the integrity of the system goes up. You are more robust. You can do anything now. When you don't focus on one thing, you have the option of anything. Can you get through, figure it out? And everything is trainable. I'm faster, I'm not fast. You could get faster. You could learn to get faster. They already know how. That's why it's easy for them. Like, let's learn how to, like, you can learn? Yes, you can learn how to be fast. Okay, so this is stimulation waves when you think about safety expanding and new things as the perception of an added ability. So we all know that we go to all these different workshops to try to bring in a bit of a toolbox so that we have things to. So it isn't just, like you said, there's no need to throw away the old tool. Like, what's wrong with it? I just have options now, right? So when something is novel, it has to also be able, in whatever way that is, to deal with it. That will bring it back down, so the next time novel stimulates exciting, this is interesting, now I'm able. If I don't put the novel in, the able becomes boring, especially with this younger group. So it's constantly throwing new variable into the mix. The color scheme, by the way, red, novel's like danger. Oh, it's like, oh no, it's good, and then all of a sudden, it becomes at the end, everything's cool, I got this new thing. I've built the skills. Learning then, the ideal is the expansion of ability. Knowing more means you have more capacity. Bits to blocks and breakdowns, it spirals through it is not linear. And that's kind of where it should be like this. No, it is what it is. So if you look, it's kind of hard to see there, but experience, understanding, and application, all of those are filtered through the self, so the self can have meaning. Communication, saying, putting out these things, that intakes others, and that gives it meaning. That gives it purpose. So now the things that you picked up have a purpose because you want to get it out to them. You need to explain and give it to them in their language and their context, they find meaning. So meaning and purpose then spirals to drive the work. Okay, progress, regress, procedural route. What can you do with what you have? So an honest assessment of here, combined with a full appreciation of all the things I could do with it, dictates real-time trajectory towards desired there, right? So if I can honestly, without judgment, know where I am, and know that there's more than one thing I can do with it, then I will be able to make a decision about how to make right now meaningful, interesting, valuable. And with that, the continual progress, it's a constant active orienting. Where am I? Where do I think I should be? Where could I go from here? It's always determining a course of action. So you're always in a doing loop, paying attention loop, interest loop, but the excitement and stimulation varies. Your actual movement might be stop, might be rest, might be going backwards. And that's still on the right path. It looks like what it looks like. Right? Again, don't try to, it's unforced, it's natural, it is the product of the person, their interaction of this movement and the circumstance. This idea of letting go. It does not need to look like any particular thing or way. I don't know how many times I've said that what you do doesn't even look like anybody else. And in fact, right, if you shoot a basketball this way, no one's going to know how to block it. They're not looking for this. Do you know what I mean? That's an advantage. If you're always you're going to telegraph it, right? There's all this thinking in a different way, giving them the opposite of what they've been trained. I can't shoot. You're making a basket, but it doesn't look right. This guy's not going to know what to do. When you have that, are you passing it? Are you shooting? You don't even know. Anticipation. It will become what it will become, so let it. This is much more, and I understand that most of you are like trainers who have a specific problem and are trying to problem solve it. But again, all this works for letting that person in on the process. Role is to keep the mental, physical loop going. Again, body and mind, not fixing or telling, but asking. Again, your job isn't to fix anybody, it's to help them understand themselves, because then the ownership and responsibility is on them. Only stepping in when there's an interactive clog, energy is low, people have stopped what to do. That's the only time you need to step in. That's what you get paid for. Giving it the time frame, like I get stuck in this, I have to catch myself. I'm like, this, we should be done with this by now. We should be past this by now. I just feel like, let him go with it, right? This expectation in my head. Offering ideas that you fully allow them to reject. That's what, like, and you know, and they're so, especially when you give them trust and you have this relationship, they want to be kind and good to you. You're right, they want to be, for the most part, they want to be kind of extra, I'll do what you say. So you have to create that atmosphere of, no, I want you to be honest. I want you to tell me the truth. Because I only know what I know. I don't know, oh my gosh, that happened to you? Why are you even in class? Like, go in my office, shut the lights off, take a nap. I could do that? Yeah! I could do whatever you want. Provide options and points of attention, right? Again, it's not sustainable, up. Allow them rest, let them watch each other, it's when I have a game going on, I'm watching a game and I'm like, seeing what's going on, but I'm always asking questions to the kids, because there's so many kids that can't all play at once. Questions, look at that space they're making. Why is that goalie so successful? Why are they scoring so much? What is the red team doing better? Can they answer me? Are they in it when they're out of it? Also, other than reflective of who's in front of you, it always has to be as detailed and nuanced as they are real-time ready to receive. Right? Doesn't matter what you know, if they aren't ready for it, it's trash. Goal here is constantly adjusting that zoom, individual, group, big scale, week, month. What are you observing and why? These are like your own self-reflective questions. Are you biased in what you're looking for? Behavior, compliance, motivation. Do they like it? Are you sure? Or are they just really trying to get on your good side? You're the cool teacher and they want to, they want to be able for you to write them a pass after lunch to stay longer, right? You toggle between problem solving and problem seeking. That is a huge, and I think that's, in general, this group, you're anticipating problems before they start, right? If I'm monitoring and seeing what's going on, I am going to fast forward, I'm going to anticipate what's going to happen. So if and when it does, I have the solution at the ready, that there is or I have this adjustment at the ready to toss in, so that everything just continues along. So you seek out possible issues versus wait for them to happen and then have to problem solve. Planning, analyzing good as well as bad. Feeling-wise, I will always sit with the negative and bad a little bit more. God, second period sucked, right? Like, what was it? I will give a lot less attention to that joyous feeling. Like, third period was amazing, and I won't necessarily put the effort and energy into being like, what was it? Was it this certain kid, or this kid was gone, or was it the way I displayed it? Did I give them less detail? What went well?
The negativity bias.
Yeah. I know, it's just kind of, and as much as you want to shake it off, it's again, get through the whole day, but you go back to, why was second period? Because you can't, as much as you don't want to make it personal, if you are the leader, ringleader of this thing, you kind of know you inherently got the reins. So, I mean, I kind of figured the same way with TN, right? Like, as much as I want to be like, you can have the keys if you want, like, it doesn't drop to the ground, like, I guess not. But it's this, again, wanting it to become, and I really think of TN as this kind of weird classroom where we just have rotating teachers and we're just all trying to figure out best practices. Bottom point has been really big in the last couple of years, letting go of what you think you know, what you think they need, and really direct efforts to what matters most to them, starting there will always put you in the right path. All right. So, ending this, these are the, as I started to get a lot more online people to try to work with me. Again, I want to empty my brain and give them everything I know. And just, so I've learned, give them a few things. And again, in my plotted plan in my head, there's 8 things to give them. I got through 1.5. So I simply ask this question, when it gets kind of close to any time. So have you gotten enough to consider and play with for a while? To simply ask that question and let them tell me, like, have you gotten enough? Do you want more? And is there anything else you might need before next time? So it's this kind of like in that same way, I reflect that out to you. Like, again, it's a different context now, but have you gotten enough? Like, because most of you kind of wanted to, most of the feedback I got was how to make things playful, how to create a learning atmosphere, right? So if you've had enough stuff and you have enough to consider, then that will close it. If there's any specific questions, if we're good, we're good. There's a lot to take in at the end of the day, especially being relaxed. But
that's such a good way to wrap things up, though.
I agree.
Because we all have a context where we're trying to get people involved in this process and like excited about it, and not have to baby them all the time. Because they think they're supposed to, but we're like, no, that's not really what you want either. You don't want some micromanage. You want to find out what's possible, but you're gonna have real life limits, like freaking tired, and you just are having a shitty day, but you still want to do this thing.
Yep. And they have expectations coming in, right, of what it looks like too. So again, how do we come out? It can look like whatever we want it to look like.
Yeah.
But I thought it was supposed to be this.
Especially adults. So think, oh, I've got to be doing this. Or they don't look silly. They don't look like adults. It's definitely, and they're sort of like teenagers. Teenagers are a little bit similar, but
Yeah. They're excellent BS detectors. I mean, I'll get back from a workshop and I'll just be like, I know they're like, we don't give a crap about any of this. And I'll be like, okay, like going back. And so knowing, again, you get so excited, it's this direction of you. So then it's right, you let them, all right, then you as a person connect it to what you're excited to teach them, and you offer them a little, you salt it a little bit and see what happens. Oh, okay, they like that a little bit more. Or nope, this is not to be held at all. This is not going to work for 6th period. And you learn. So, but I really like this ending as far as kind of really any conversation or any working with someone to be like, are you good now? Like, are you good to be on your own? Do you know what to do with this stuff? Or are there questions that you might have? So yeah.
Do you remember the Far Side cartoons?
Absolutely.
The
From
one-
Chicago.
Teacher here, excuse my brain's full.
My favorite is still the gifted kid with the pull door, and he's like, so.
Do you work with adults?
I do. So I see one-on-one clients in my little garage gym, mostly pain. So it's like I'm spiraling around, like PE pays the bills, but I blur the lines between the two. Because while these kids are playing soccer and this kid has a knee injury, I'm working with him. Like why not? Why would I say like, no, we're watching soccer game? Like, no, like they're fine. Let's work on this. And then it's funny, I start to get like the athletes will just like come, like they'll just have a bag of ice and they'll just stand there while I'm trying to start class. And instead of ignoring them right already, I'll start talking with them and I'll let these kids watch me interact with this person. Right? So then they're like, oh, like it isn't, oh, the ice isn't magic? If I saran wrap it, it's not magical? This is not how you fix? It's like, no, why do you have a problem in the first place? So, but it kind of depends on the class and the curiousness of the, I mean, I will have classes that want to be more cerebral than physical, and they would love nothing more than to watch me work with this person the entire period and then be like, oh, yes, it's time to go. And then I will have ANSI athletes in a class, so I just have to let them go and then work with them one-on-one. So, yeah. Are we exhausted? Are we ready for that? I see the eyes, I can feel the energy.
and all you see is eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, right? And then, yeah.
I also can, I mean, with that, I can feel everyone was relaxed after, you know, and I'm, again, all for it. Like, you did exactly what it was supposed to do. So, and I can hear myself as I get excited about talking, amping up a little bit, but trying not necessarily to be like, you also, like, this is just me, I'm in my own world. But yeah, so it's just, I mean, having people, imagine if you had clients come to you 9 months out of the year, you didn't have to do a thing, you walked out of your office or your bed or whatever, and there they were. And they were like, teach me. This is, right? No marketing, no this, no that. Half of them don't want to be here. Like that's the reality, right? And so, and it's become easy for me. So, how to modulate, how to figure this out. So this is my first attempt at being like, okay, this thing that I've inherently learned how to do, how do I offer these things to others? Because this is the baseline of what I feel works. And how I bring, because again, the kids who get it, you know, like the movement people, they don't need you. They don't want to pay for it, they just go. But the folks that are, you know, lethargic and they're not confident, how do you bring them? That's the celebration.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Super interesting. Someone was just saying that the way they approach working with adults is isolate, integrate, improvise. And I really liked that. And it's
Very
kind
Ito.
It's very Ito, totally.
Uh-huh.
And it's very similar to the way you were just saying. You give them the ball. There's the isolation. You figure out what they're gonna do.
And it's almost like, and I almost would reverse that and say, start with improv. Like, start to see what they'll do.
Yeah.
And then, so let's flip, because again, there's this assumption that people don't know what to do, and I think that's hogwash. I don't think they haven't been given the option to do. And if they don't have the tools. So again, you don't tell them you don't tell them do this, this, and this. You give them the thinking and the options and the way to look at things. And then if I took a group outside, there's like 3 of them that want to climb the tennis fence. I'm like, go for it, climb the tennis. And then you'll see like 3 or 4 watching them, right? Like, she's letting them do that. If he falls, he's gonna fall. Like, this like, what are you doing? How are you? It's never them climbing the back. Like, just let them go. And then the other kids be like, this is possible?
Yeah, the strictness of how you're supposed to use those reins.
Yeah.
Like climb the rope. Like, that's my kid. Like I have a TRX, I have ring. They're doing nothing that those are in the class, a TRX class. Like,
but then you have someone try to mimic it, and they're like, oh, this is a lot. I mean, the ideas from kids that come is a million, because again, they're not in any box. There's no path for them, so they're making it up on the spot with what they know, which is why the same thing about this stuff needs to circulate so it can be what it can become.
My tripod is a cannonball.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, he's like sitting in gymnastic drills.
No,
He's not sitting in it, and not like actually using them. You just have to sit there.
Yeah. I mean, and I've gone to, I was invited to go to Hong Kong to kind of work with this kids class. And it was one of these things where I'm observing, and there's probably 12 8-year-olds, 5 to 8-year-olds, and they're all in line, and one by one, this person is like teaching them to do this tumbling. I'm in this line and I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, that kid is getting some interaction. What about these 11 kids? Like, and they're all just, again, not, right, socializing. So when I took a class, they thought it was chaos, but everyone was like jumping from things, I was like, go for it. And the only thing I did was make sure that the other ones didn't jump on me, like there was a snack situation, so I just made sure the mat wouldn't fall on the little kid, and then I just let them go. And I let them be as rough as they want, and again, if you take the boundaries away, what they want will be revealed. So, it's just a very different, because again, we like to treat kids as adults. And the sooner they become adults, the worse off they are with that mentality, right? So I almost want to flip the switch. How do we get high school PE more like elementary? Because it's in middle school when it's like, you gotta run, or you gotta play soccer. Like, this is what our class is now. You're gonna learn these games. And if you're not good at these games, then get out of my sight. Practice harder. Right? I want to make it more like elementary, where everybody's excited to show because they don't know what's going to happen, but they just want to do it. There's a reason they fall off. So let's change that pattern.
Has deep psychological implications trauma in life and living.
It's so much, this trauma. And I'm gonna put it up, this idea of safety and touch and being able to sit in things. They're not given the time and space, and it's never brought up because the teachers are always so into what they feel is important. Like they never. I mean, my best classes are when they're all sitting and tired like this, and I'll just ask them, "What's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get into this group discussion, and yeah, they took my dad away. Holy, they took your dad away, right? And that'll stir up this. So all the realness gets to bubble up. Like that's the same. Again, your prevention. You're releasing the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You're adjusting the valve. Like that's all you're doing. Is letting it's okay to be as you wish.
All this stuff comes out. She
Yeah.
does that too.
And it's literally like, how are you here? How are you living?
Yeah.
So,
A lot of stuff going on.
yeah.
Wish I had a PE teacher like you.
It's so, I really appreciate that, and I always find gratitude, and it's like, who else is, and I don't feel like, I don't feel I need to change the system, but I can change my classes, right? And if I can get this out, if I can understand what it is I'm doing in my classes, then I can offer this to other classrooms and other teachers, right? So you have to change the system from the inside versus trying to wreck the system. It doesn't,
Because those teachers were brought up in those boxes and they
Right.
only know.
They're all former athletes. They're all they coach football, and then they want to know what to do with this kid who doesn't like football, who's afraid of the ball. That is your job. Your job is to get them interested. It's like, no, it's the kid's problem. It's just a inversion. But my own story of all sport, then losing sport, going away from sport, sport is the devil, to be like, maybe we could include it all. That my own journey is reflected in how I interact, which is the gamut of being responsible for all these humans, is that you can't help but look at things as much as I want to be open. This is my observation without judgment. That really leads to me to dictating when to turn the dials. It allows me to cater to them instead of feeding off my own ambitions or interests and things. And then when you give it to them, there's never a fight. You don't have to do it. That's fine. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna, right? You can do whatever you want. But when those kids who don't want to do what you're asking them to do, and it could be so simple, and I say, okay, do whatever you want. Well, what's that? Whatever you want. They get so overwhelmed by having to come up with something to do that they just kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
They're looking for the fight, and I'm like, you don't have to. You can go outside. With who? I don't know. I can't make someone go outside for a walk with you. That's not how this works. And then they think about social exclusion and this and that. And I guess the people are here. So it is. It's psychology, human behavior. That's what I've been. The gamut.
And also, you know Dr. Joe Dispenza's work?
No.
He was super cool, Becoming Supernatural, Evolve Your Brain, a couple other books, really cool stuff. But he talks about novel, new things, and the importance of that, and rewriting neural pathways.
Yeah, I'm fully for it.
We're doing it.
If we rut, we're gonna really dig that rut so it becomes a ditch, and then we get trapped in it.
One-time basketball in the face.
Yeah, I know.
Can you email that?
Absolutely.
PowerPoint?
Yeah.
I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For sure. Cool. Yeah, and I think what I'll end up doing, if people are cool, is if you want to all send me your presentations, if everyone's into this, I can shoot them all out in one mass email. That way we have a hard copy of things, but yeah. I appreciate everybody coming out so much. Thank you. You guys are banging back there. It was like the dream team back and forth and bringing the buddies. So yeah, and just so gracious and kind. So thank you for your interest and your energy and your attention and your time. Yeah, and now tomorrow's Monday. Regular work for most of you. So.
This is CareLab year 2.
I know it. And I don't know anything yet. I'm assuming year 3 only because of facilities access will probably be shifted back to Woodburn. This is all, if everything, the world rights itself eventually. But just because I can get, you know, an 8-rack weight room, brand new weight room, wood floor, soft floor, I can get access to all that stuff free. It's like $90 to rent out the pool for those hours. So just because of facilities, that's likely where we're gonna go. But I'll probably, I mean, we're gonna do the online thing. That's, now that this is like, check, okay, it's like, I'm very task list, so now it's like focused on what could this online be, and probably after that will be, does anyone want to host, this kind of thing. I'm thinking of this, and I think August, that mid-August weekend is going to be our date from here on out. I just think to have it more, it's going to be our online version, but I just think that the end of the summer, selfishly for me, it kind of gives me all summer to prepare, and then before I go back to school, right, I can make sure that everything, I can get into the school, make sure everything's set up. But that's my guess. It will likely be kicked back to Woodburn for year 3. So, and hopefully even get more public stuff accessed. And again, the overarching goal, I'm going to try to get a grant for open source information that I kind of found. For people to say, hey, like, I would like to come to this thing and I'm willing to support this, because I would really like, at the very least, for there not to be a cost assumed by the people presenting, right? I feel like that's the very least, but it has to become solvent for that to happen. So, but that's the dream, is to like fly these people out, fly these people in, and have you do your thing without having to dip into your pocket to do so. So, until that happens, we'll just keep bootstrapping it.